Hello, friends. So Bible study, the New International Version, the NIV, Acts, all of chapter 12. It's 26 verses. It's actually two parables, but we're going to do it in one video. I like the cause and effect that you're going to see, because you will often see this, and it is a particular moral lesson, and it is very much so repeated. You see it more often in the Old Testament than you do in the New. I'll say that. So Peter's miraculous escape from prison. That's the first parable. That goes until verse 19, which is why we're not doing it in two separate videos, because it's really cause and effect. It was about this time that King Herod, remember, who was a puppet king. He's not in Jerusalem. He's ruling from another jurisdiction. At the time of Jesus' death, Pilate was like, wait, you're not even my citizen. You're his citizen. Send him over there. Because Herod has the ability to put people to death. Right? So he will, if he wants to. He has that a right, just like a Roman emperor would be, because he's paid by the Romans. So as far as they're concerned, it's the same thing. Like, he's not going to crucify people, because that's a Roman thing, not a Jewish thing. So he has all that same stuff. So they trade the people back and forth. King Herod arrested some who belonged to the church, intending to persecute them, which the Romans are not doing. Right? The Romans are not the ones putting them to death when they're in that place. It's the Sanhedrin. They stoned Stephen. They're not supposed to even put people to death. They're supposed to, in Jerusalem, hand him over to the Romans to put him to death. That was why they gave Jesus to the Romans, because it said, you say we're not allowed to kill our own people. We have to give them to you if they need to die. So we give them to you when we want them to die. Right? So they weren't even supposed to stone Stephen. That's not even in their jurisdiction. So he doesn't have to persecute them. He's deciding to. Okay? Just because somebody else wants to, or the cool kids say something's cool, it doesn't mean you have to do it. That's part of the lesson in the Old Testament with the Jewish people over and over and over again. Because why is he getting mad at them and doing all these things? Because they're getting these leaders that want them to worship demons, and instead of going, what? No. You are no longer our leader. They just do as they're told. It's okay. So you don't have an individual relationship with the Lord, and you're not actively seeking your Messiah like you're supposed to, and you're not like all that stuff. So King Herod, by conscious choice, because he wants to be popular, is going to do this terrible thing. He had James, the brother of John, so in the chosen, big James, put to death with the sword. When he saw that this pleased the Jews, he proceeded to seize Peter as well. This happened during the Feast of the Unleavened Bread, so Passover. After arresting him, he put him in prison, handing him over to be guarded by 4 squads of 4 soldiers each. So that's 16 soldiers. Because remember, the apostles have slipped the Sanhedrin before, so King Herod isn't taking any chances. Herod intended to bring him out for public trial after the Passover, because you don't do that. It's not that kind of holiday. You don't do that. It's not their specific religious tenets, and he is still a Jew, so he intends to follow the religious tenets that are given to him. Right? So Peter is kept in prison, but the church was earnestly praying to God for him. So the night before Herod, there's no so, I like to say so. It's just part of my nature. The night before Herod was to bring him to trial, so just right after Passover, Peter was sleeping between 2 soldiers bound by 2 chains, and sentries stood at the guard entrance. So really not taking any chances. Suddenly, an angel of the Lord appeared, and a light shone in the cell. He struck Peter on the side. And other things, they say he shook him awake. So it's sort of like, hey, and woke him up. Quick, get up, he said. And the chains just fell off of Peter's wrists. And then the angel said to him, put on your clothes and your sandals. So, like, they're not saying that Peter was, like, naked. There would have been outer garments and inner garments. So there's been, like, an outer, think of it as almost like a linen nightgown. And then there's outer garments, things that they would have put over themselves. I know they're in the desert, but for insulation purposes to better cover yourself. But linen is light and it allows air through, so you wouldn't be sweating the same way you would with cotton. We like cotton in America. It's our version of linen. Cotton was not like a fiber they had, right? So it would have been difficult for them. They don't really have the right conditions to grow cotton. They live in a desert. You need specific growing conditions. So this would be too thick there. Like, this is fine for me as I'm in my house and when I live in the desert. But I take it off when I go outside because it's the summer and it's like 107 degrees today. But you also, in that kind of heat, have to cover up your flesh. So then you want something lighter than what this is. So it's light garments. So basically he's in his underwear. It'd be the equivalent of standing there in the amount of material in long johns, except it's like a nightgown. Because that's what everybody wore. That's what the robes were, right? Put on your clothes and your sandals. Now in other versions it tells him to tighten his belt and put on his sandals. So he just would have had his belt loose, because who wants to sleep with a belt on? That sounds uncomfortable. So he didn't. And Peter did so. Wrap your cloak around you, so you're more of your outer garments, and follow me, the angel told him. Peter followed him out of prison, but had no idea what the angel was doing, was really happening. He thought he was seeing a vision, because, he'd been asleep. He was like, oh, this is a weird dream. They passed first and second guards and came to the iron gate leading to the city. It opened for them by itself, and they went through it. When they walked the length of one street, suddenly the angel left him. Then Peter came to himself and said, now I know without a doubt that the Lord sent his angel and rescued me from Herod's clutches and from everything the Jewish people were anticipating. Sorry if you heard anything there. There's somebody who was trying to ring through that I don't actually even care about. Just trying to create delays. The opposition likes to do that. 1 verse 12. So, yeah, he just suddenly got to escape from prison, and he came to realizing it's not a vision. He's actually out. I mean, he was essentially told he would eventually be crucified, and Herod doesn't crucify people. So there's no way he was going to die there. God has made them escape from prison before, so here you go. When this had dawned on him, he went to the house of Mary, the mother of John, also called Mark. Right? So that's not Mary Magdalene. That's not necessarily Mary Mother. Right? There's a lot of Marys in these stories. Mary is a popular name in this culture, as it is, now in the Christian culture for those reasons, right? To honor those particular people in these verses, right? Where many people had gathered and were praying. So they had a prayer circle going. Peter knocked at the outer entrance, and a servant girl named Rhonda came to answer the door. When she recognized Peter's voice, she was so overjoyed she ran back without opening it and exclaimed, "Peter's at the door." She's just like, "Oh my God!" Right? But Peter, so you're out of your mind, they told her. When she kept insisting it was so, they said it must be his angel. But Peter kept on knocking. And when they opened the door and saw him, they were astonished. So these people live in the same town as where he was being held. Peter motioned with his hand for them to be quiet. They don't want to wake people up and let them know. Right? And he described how the Lord was brought him out of prison. Tell James and the brothers about this, he said. And then he left for another place. Because, the heat's going to be on. When they wake up in the morning, he can't be in the town that he was in. He's going to get caught, and he could get all of them killed, too. No, no, no. He needs them to know he's safe. I'm safe, but I'm out of here, right? In the morning, there was no small commotion among the soldiers as to what had become of Peter. So no small commotion. There was a big commotion going on. They were like, where did he go? Because they know they're going to be in trouble because they lost a prisoner. Right? You're talking about 16 guards, 2 of them sleeping next to him, and he was chained to the bed. Where did he go? People were supposed to be awake all night. How did he get out without you seeing? Right? Big trouble. This next parable is called Herod's death. So, in the morning, there was no small commotion. So, we're not in Herod's death yet. It's the next one. This is verse 19. But after Herod had made a thorough search, after Herod had a thorough search made for him and did not find him, he cross-examined the guards and ordered them executed. Because, again, what did they do? And he's very mad. He's a king. Kings tend to kill those who bring bad news. That's why nobody wants to bring the king bad news. Herod's death, the next parable. Then Herod went from Judea to Caesarea. It's a different town. And stayed there a while. Because his feelings were hurt. He didn't get to do a big show for his people. He looks like a fool. He had been quarreling with the people of Tyre and Sidon. At least that's how I pronounce that. Tyre, Tyre, and Sidon, Sidon. They now joined together and sought an audience with him. That's king's mad. I don't know that I would do that. That's a good way to die, especially if he's already angry with you. Having secured the support of Blastus, the trusted personal servant of the king, because it's literally the word blast with US at the end of it, so I'm pretty sure that's Blastus. And he's the head of the household. They asked for peace. It says that in a different version, that he's the head of the household. Because they depended on the king's country for their food supply. Like, please stop being angry with me. We don't have any food. We need your food. What do you need us to do so that you will continue to give us food? Like that. This is verse 21, on the appointed day, Herod, wearing his royal robes, sat on his throne and delivered a public address to the people. They shouted, "This is the voice of God, not a man." Immediately, because Herod did not give praise to God, he didn't correct them. He soaked in that, oh yeah, think I'm a god. I love that think I'm awesome energy. Right? He did that. That's a mistake. An angel of the Lord struck him down. That is exactly what happened to the high priest Aaron for claiming that the water from the stone was from him and Moses. Moses went along with it, and that's why he was kept out of the promised land and had to die and never got to see Jerusalem. But Aaron had already been kicked out of the promised land for claiming that God spoke to him directly. He was kicked out of the promised land because God only spoke to Moses directly. Aaron and Miriam, the older brother and younger sister of Moses, were indeed psychic. It ran in the family. It was in the blood. But only Moses decided to turn to God. The other two sought to glorify themselves. So she was given skin problems and meant to live in the wilderness for like 2 weeks. He was kept out of the kingdom of heaven. Moses didn't do anything wrong, so nothing happened. The next time, though, there was a claim that she made. She died. Aaron made a claim. It was God, the water coming from the stone, and there legitimately wasn't any. The Jewish people had a complaint. God said it was fair, but there was no water. So he said, go strike the rock. I'll give them water from the stone. And they tried to claim it was theirs. So Aaron was taken up to the top of the mountain, and his robes were ripped off of him. They were given to his oldest son, and he dropped dead on the moment. right there. And then Moses was kept out of the Jerusalem, out of the promised land. Because he didn't give immediate thing, he was struck down. And he was eaten by worms and died. So they struck him down and they killed him by worms. They like instantaneously gave him internal worms, and people saw the worm crawl out of his mouth when he was struck down and died, because he didn't rebuke them. But the word of God continued to increase and spread. When Barnabas and Saul had finished their mission, they returned from Jerusalem, taking with them John, also called Mark. So, remember that only your work is your work. You can't claim other people's work to be your work. He always knows. He sees all. And if he's warned you enough times and you're not listening, he does punish. We are meant to be teachable and correctable. To live our life going by the flow. He's in charge of all of it, and we're supposed to remember that everything we do, we can only do what he empowers us to do. We know it to be true. Jesus said it himself. He says it himself repeatedly. I can only do with that what the Lord has empowered me to do. And that is true of all people. None of us are greater than, the Christ, in my opinion. If you have a different opinion and you think you're greater than Christ, I would suggest you revise that. Because I don't hold that opinion. Nothing is going to happen to me because of your opinion of yourself. Just remember, as you have your come up and things happen, that we're always meant to be giving credit to the people who actually did the work. Whether that's somebody doing that to you, you doing that to somebody, or just something you're seeing. We show him our devotion by the actions we take and how we interface with the world. When we do nothing in the face of an injustice, we basically endorse it because we empower those people to continue to do injustice. Eventually, it will hit us. Because when they think they can, they'll do it to anybody who looks shiny. Because you're either the type of person that's comfortable claiming someone else's work, or you're simply not. That's a matter of integrity. And that's a matter of whether or not you're in alignment with him. And if you're in alignment with him, you don't really want to claim somebody else's work. You don't really want somebody else's prizes. You want a better connection with him. That's really kind of what alignment looks like. A more personal relationship with the Lord. I hope you get yours today, because I know I'm going to have mine. It's something I wake up every morning and consciously seek. It's not happening by accident. It happens by choice, as everything else does in our world. I pray that you have the best day that you can.